in reality, opens mid-orbit above Earth, swallowing starlight like ink poured into fire. 3 silhouettes drop out of collapsing space at the same instant, one wrapped in fading red cape, one standing still mid-air as if gravity forgot him, one landing with knees cracking the surface of a shattered satellite. No sound reaches space until all 3 simultaneously lose their stance. Superman's fist trembles first. His eyes widen, not from fear of an enemy, but from absence. Something inside him just shuts off. Saitama's expression doesn't change, but his landing is wrong, too heavy, too human. He staggers a step back, as if the universe suddenly added weight he never agreed to carry. Goku clenches his hand. Nothing answers. No warmth rising through his veins. No rising instinct. No shift beyond limits. Just silence inside his body. The shattered satellite beneath them begins drifting apart as gravity systems fail across low orbit stations. Panels flicker. Control towers on Earth lose signal one after another. Then, a second tear opens behind them. Not in space, in logic. A vertical fracture slicing through dimensions like broken glass suspended in air. From it steps something that does not belong to any timeline dog. A figure with multiple reflections moving out of sync, each version slightly different, older, burned, erased, rewritten. Saitama tilts his head slightly. Goku shifts into stance out of instinct alone. Superman steps forward, then stops, because his movement feels delayed, like his body is responding late to his thoughts. The entity speaks without mouth. You 3 are now incomplete. Earth below flashes. Entire continents flicker in and out like unstable projection. Then the truth lands. All 3 have lost their core forces at the same exact cosmic timestamp. Not weakened, not sealed, erased from existence within them. Saitama slowly looks at his fist. For the first time, there is hesitation. Goku whispers, barely audible. I can't feel it. Superman's jaw tightens. His voice comes out fractured. My connection? It's gone. The entity raises a hand. Behind it, fractured versions of Earth collapse into each other. Cities stacking, oceans reversing, mountains folding like paper. A warning without words. Then, it moves. Instant impact. Space between them bends violently as the entity appears behind Superman mid-thought. A strike lands. Superman is thrown backward through 3 broken satellites, each one disintegrating on contact. Saitama reacts late, too late. His punch misses empty air. Goku pivots, tries to intercept, but his body doesn't obey the speed he remembers. The entity grabs his arm mid-motion. A twist. Reality fractures around Goku's shoulder. He is slammed into floating debris field, each fragment echoing different timelines of his past battles, but all muted. Saitama finally moves. 1 step. That's all it takes for the ground of shattered orbit platform to crack under him, even in zero gravity. He appears in front of the entity. A simple punch. No technique, no build-up, just instinct. The impact hits. And for the first time, Saitama's face changes. His fist stops. Not blocked, not dodged. Absorbed. The entity's body splits into mirrored versions, each one holding the punch differently across alternate outcomes. Saitama pulls back slowly. That's new. Behind him, Superman returns, breathing heavier than he should be able to in vacuum. His eyes lock onto the entity. I fought gods. This feels wrong. The entity tilts its head. You were gods. Goku rises from debris, arm trembling. He looks at both of them. Something shifts in his expression. Not fear, not confusion. Recognition. We didn't lose strength, he says quietly. We lost the source. Suddenly, the entity claps once. The sound spreads, not through space, through dimensions. Every broken satellite around them collapses inward like crushed paper. Gravity reverses. The trio is pulled toward a central point forming above Earth. A rotating void. A manufactured heart of collapsing universes. Saitama braces. Superman spreads his arms, trying to stabilize drift. Goku closes his eyes, then opens them. I still know how to fight. He charges. Without transformation. Without enhancement. Pure body memory. He collides with the entity mid-fall toward the void. Impact triggers a chain reaction. The surrounding space bends like a snapped spine. Saitama follows instantly, striking from the opposite angle. Superman joins, driving forward with raw momentum, attempting to pin the entity into the collapsing gravity core. For a split second, it works. The entity is trapped between them. Then it smiles. And the void above Earth stops collapsing. It expands instead. A reversal event. The entire gravitational sink flips outward. The three heroes are launched away in different directions. Saitama crashes into a fractured moon fragment. Superman is thrown into Earth's upper atmosphere, burning trails forming across the sky. Goku is sent spinning toward the void's edge, where something new emerges. A fourth presence. Watching. Waiting. Older than the fracture itself. And it speaks one line into Goku's mind only. Now you understand what I took first. Goku's eyes widen. The void collapses behind him. Cut to black. Goku is suspended at the edge of collapsing space, fingers scraping against invisible pressure as the void tightens like a closing eye. The unseen voice lingers inside his mind, cold, precise, familiar, in a way that feels wrong. Saitama crashes through a fractured lunar shard nearby, carving a trench across its surface before stopping with one palm. He rises slowly. His stare locks upward. Something is approaching without motion. Superman streaks back through Earth's atmosphere, trailing molten sky fragments. He stabilizes midair above a burning storm layer, breathing unevenly. First time his body rejects recovery speed. Then, the fourth presence reveals itself, not by arrival, by absence of reality. A zone above Earth stops reflecting light. Stars bend away like avoiding eye contact. A figure stands inside that dead zone, but its outline constantly fails to remain consistent. Sometimes humanoid, sometimes geometric, sometimes erased mid-form. Goku clenches his fist. No response from within. Only muscle memory remains. The entity from before reappears beneath the dead zone, as if summoned. It speaks again. You are all missing the same foundation. Saitama tilts his head. My punch feels delayed. Superman tightens his jaw. My senses are lagging behind thought. Goku lands beside them, impact cracking the upper atmosphere layer beneath his feet like fragile glass. "I used to feel everything before it happened," he says. A pause. "Now I only react." The dead zone above pulses once. The fourth presence steps forward. Every step deletes a fragment of nearby reality. Clouds vanish mid-formation. Birds disappear from flight paths. Entire weather systems blink out. Superman moves first. He launches upward at impossible speed. But halfway, his motion stutters. As if time itself refuses to acknowledge his acceleration. The presence lifts one hand. Superman stops mid-flight. Not frozen. Paused. Like a frame removed from continuity. Saitama vanishes from his position instantly, appearing above the entity with a straight punch. Impact lands. Nothing explodes. Instead, the punch passes through a version of the entity that already predicted it happening 3 variations ago. Saitama's eyes narrow. "I'm being read." Goku charges from below, not using any technique, just pure kinetic timing. He strikes. The entity shifts slightly left. Goku misses by a fraction that feels infinite. Behind him, space folds and replays his missed attack as multiple failed outcomes. The voice returns inside Goku's mind. "You were never strong. You were borrowed certainty." Goku grits his teeth. "That's not true." He turns, but the entity is already behind him. A single finger touches Goku's forehead. Instantly, his memory fractures. Flashes of battles without power surges. Winds without instinct. Movements without flow. Superman breaks free mid-pause, forcing his body through temporal resistance. He slams into the entity. This time, contact holds. A shockwave ripples outward. But instead of destruction, it creates silence. All sound in orbit vanishes. Even thought feels muffled. Saitama reappears, striking again and again in rapid succession. Each hit lands, but each impact produces a different version of the entity, as if every punch creates an alternate outcome instead of damage. The entity speaks softly. "You are all running simulations without the key variable." Superman snarls. "Then give it back!" The entity turns its head slightly. "You never owned it." Suddenly, Earth below flickers. Entire cities appear and vanish like unstable recordings. Oceans split into layered timelines. The planet itself begins desynchronizing. Goku floats backward, eyes shaking. "I can still adapt," he says. But his voice lacks conviction. Saitama looks at his own hand again. For the first time. Frustration. Not anger. Frustration that nothing escalates properly anymore. Superman turns toward Earth. If this continues, reality collapses. The fourth presence raises both hands. Above them, a massive structure forms, like a courtroom made of broken universes. The entity speaks. Judgment begins. Instantly, gravity reverses across the entire orbital layer. The trio is pulled upward into the constructed arena. Saitama resists for a moment, boots scraping lunar debris, then lifts anyway. Superman follows, arms strained against invisible pressure. Goku is dragged upward, trying to stabilize with raw force, but slipping constantly as if his body forgets coordination mid-action. They enter the arena. Walls are made of frozen timelines, each panel showing different versions of their defeats. Saitama sees himself unable to finish a single strike. Superman sees Earth destroyed in loops. Goku sees himself never transforming again. Silence stretches. Then, the entity appears at the center, and behind it, something else awakens inside the structure. A massive sealed silhouette chained across multiple dimensions. It moves slightly, and every chain across reality screams at once. Goku whispers, "That's not part of this fight." The entity responds, "It is the reason you are powerless." Saitama steps forward. "One punch, that's all I need." He disappears. Instant acceleration. He appears directly in front of the chained silhouette and strikes. Impact connects. The chains react, not breaking, rewriting. Superman rushes in. Too late. The arena begins folding inward. Goku looks up and realizes the structure is not a battlefield. It is a containment system, and they are inside it. The chained entity opens one eye and smiles. Cut to black. The chained eye opens fully. Reality inside the arena skips like a damaged film reel. Saitama's fist remains embedded in the sealed structure, but the impact rewrites itself into a non-impact across 3 alternate outcomes. Superman reaches forward. His hand phases through layers of time that refuse to agree on his position. Goku staggers back. His breathing sharpens. Not exhaustion, mismatch. His body and intent no longer synchronize perfectly. The entity at the center steps aside calmly. "You struck the lock. You woke the prisoner." The chains across dimensions begin tightening instead of breaking. Each link compresses entire histories. Wars, victories, deaths collapsing into single points of light that immediately extinguish. Saitama pulls his arm back slowly. That thing wasn't asleep. The chained presence shifts its head. A voice spreads without sound. "Sleep was your assumption." Superman's eyes widen. This containment isn't holding it, it's feeding it. Goku clenches his jaw. "Then why trap it here?" The entity answers immediately. "Because outside, it remembers what it used to be." A sudden snap. One chain breaks, not outward, but inward. A ripple hits all 3 simultaneously. Saitama is forced back through a fractured layer of the arena wall. Superman is dropped into a gravity loop where direction resets every second. Goku is pinned mid-air by invisible reversal pressure. The chained being lifts one arm, and the arena reacts like a living organism in pain. Segments of the structure begin folding toward the center, compressing timelines into tighter loops. Saitama rises again. No hesitation. He charges directly at the chain nexus. Each step now distorts causality. His movements arrive slightly before decision forms. He punches again. This time, the chain does not resist. It accepts. A portion snaps. But instead of release, the broken segment multiplies into additional restraints. Saitama freezes for half a beat. It adapts. Superman stabilizes mid-loop by forcing constant motion, never allowing a reset point to catch him. He accelerates through repeating frames, breaking the cycle long enough to reach Goku. He grabs him. Stay synchronized, don't drift. Goku nods once. I feel it trying to desync me from intention. Superman looks toward the center. That's how it stops us. The chained being tilts its head slightly. And yet you still think in linear force. A pulse. Every chain in the arena tightens at once. The three are thrown outward violently. Saitama slams into a wall of compressed memories, his own past battles looping endlessly without resolution. Superman is caught in a spiral of reverse time streams. Goku is forced into a null zone where movement costs intent itself. The entity steps forward again. Power was never removed. It was detached from consequence. Goku grits his teeth. That doesn't make sense. The entity replies. You cannot complete actions without a system that recognizes completion. Saitama breaks out of the memory loop with sheer persistence, pushing through repeated versions of himself failing. His expression tightens. So, nothing we do registers. Superman stabilizes long enough to respond, which means every strike is disconnected from outcome. Goku looks down. Then how do we win something that refuses to record us? Silence. The chained being moves slightly again, and this time, one of its eyes focuses directly on Goku. A memory enters him that is not his own. A version of Earth where none of them ever existed. No Saiyan arrival. No Kryptonian descent. No bald hero. Just silence across galaxies. Goku stumbles midair. That future. The entity interrupts. Not future. Baseline. Saitama appears beside him again, having forced his way through layered collapse. I don't like that. Superman arrives seconds later, stabilizing their formation. We're inside a correction system. The arena shakes violently. Chains begin retracting inward. The chained being slowly rises from its restraints for the first time. Not fully free, but no longer passive. Saitama tightens his fist. One clean hit should end this. Superman shakes his head. There's no single target anymore. Goku looks at both of them. No, there is. He points upward, at the central core of the chains, where all restraints converge into one impossible node. The entity reacts immediately. Do not attempt convergence. Saitama vanishes. Superman follows. Goku moves last, but deliberately now. All three converge on the same point. For a split second, the trajectories align perfectly. A single combined strike forms. Saitama's raw impact. Superman's controlled momentum. Goku's precise timing. They collide into the core simultaneously. A silence heavier than collapse spreads outward. Then, the chain nexus cracks, not breaking outward, erasing inward. The arena begins folding uncontrollably. The chained being finally reacts. Its full form starts emerging through the fracture. And in the last moment before rupture, it whispers a name none of them recognize. But all three somehow remember. Cut to black. The name lingers in their minds like a scar that refuses to close. The chain nexus collapses inward, and the entire arena loses structural agreement with reality. Saitama hangs mid-motion, fist still extended, But every version of his strike now exists in parallel outcomes that refuse to settle into one result. Superman tries to stabilize the collapse field. His hands pass through shifting layers of broken causality, unable to anchor anything. Goku's eyes sharpen. I remember that name. A flash hits him. A life where he stood alone. No battles, no rivals, no transformations ever discovered. Just emptiness stretching further than space. He clenches his jaw. That version of me never fought anything. The chained being rises further, its form now visible in fragments, each segment displaying different laws of physics reacting differently around it. The entity that had guided them steps backward for the first time. This is where containment ends. Saitama lowers his arm slowly. So we were the lock. Superman turns. No, we were the distraction. The collapsing arena fractures into multiple stacked realities. Each layer shows a different outcome, forming simultaneously. One where the being escapes instantly. One where it is never discovered. One where all three heroes never meet. Goku moves first. No more guessing outcomes. He darts toward the convergence core again. But his motion splits mid-flight. Three versions of him diverge, each following slightly different intent paths. Only one reaches the center. Saitama follows immediately. His presence stabilizes none of the layers. He simply forces continuity through sheer persistence. Superman accelerates behind them, trying to hold the collapsing structure together through sheer resistance. The chained being extends one hand, and reality pauses, not frozen, rejected. Every motion stops recognizing itself as valid. Saitama's punch halts inches from impact. Superman's forward push loses definition. Goku's final step becomes uncertain mid-execution. The being speaks again. You never understood what was taken. Saitama's eyes narrow. Then explain it. The being answers. Continuity. A pulse. Every timeline layer begins dissolving simultaneously. Superman struggles. If continuity is gone, nothing can connect cause to effect. Goku grits his teeth. Then we're just motion without result. The being tilts its head. Correct. Saitama's expression finally sharpens. That's why nothing felt real. Suddenly, he moves, even without continuity. A strike lands, not because it connects, because he refuses the rule that says it cannot. The impact ripples, not through space, but through permission itself. Superman sees it. That's not force. Goku reacts instantly. That's rejection of system logic. He follows. His movement becomes irregular, breaking predictable structure. He lands a hit alongside Saitama, not synchronized, but overlapping in contradiction. Superman joins last, not matching rhythm, breaking it. All three collide with the convergence core again. This time, the system hesitates. For the first time, the chained being reacts sharply. Its form destabilizes. One fragment cracks open, and something inside it blinks. A sealed eye opens beneath everything, older than the chains, older than the arena, older than the entity itself. It looks directly at them. And reality stutters violently. Goku steps back. There's something inside it, Saitama's voice lowers. That wasn't the prisoner. Superman tightens his stance. That was the container. The entity that guided them speaks in a fractured tone. You were never meant to reach that layer. The sealed eye opens further, and the entire multiverse begins folding toward a single point. Saitama raises his fist one last time. And let's finish this before it finishes us. Superman and Goku move beside him. 3 trajectories form again. Not perfect, not synchronized, but willing. They charge directly into the opening eye, and as impact begins, the sealed eye whispers a final truth. You didn't lose power. You were removed from its memory. Impact hits. Reality collapses. Cut to black. The sealed eye opens wider. Reality stops collapsing and starts rewriting. Saitama's fist is halfway through contact, yet the space around it refuses to decide whether impact happened or not. Superman's body locks into unstable motion, every frame of his movement splitting into contradictory directions. Goku's final charge fractures into multiple intent paths, each one attempting a different ending that never resolves. Then, the eye blinks. Everything resets, but not backward. Sideways. A new layer of existence spawns on top of the broken arena. The chain structure is gone. So are the chains. So is the concept of containment. Only the 3 remain, suspended inside a white void shaped like infinite corridors. Saitama slowly lowers his arm. We didn't hit it. Superman scans the space. No debris, no residual matter. It didn't explode. It erased the result entirely. Goku clenches his fist. I felt it deny the outcome. A voice returns, not from a being, but from the environment itself. You are now inside a memory without owner. The void shifts. Corridors begin filling with scenes that are not real-time events, but recorded impossibilities. Saitama failing a single punch for the first time across infinite versions. Superman losing flight in every known reality. Goku unable to ever reach transformation in every timeline that exists. Saitama's expression tightens. Those aren't memories, Superman answers instantly. They're rejected possibilities. Goku steps forward. So every version where we succeed got deleted. The environment responds. Success requires permission. Suddenly, a fracture opens in the corridor wall. Not an attack. A tear in classification. From it steps the entity that had guided them earlier, but now incomplete, missing fragments of its own form. It looks unstable. You broke the containment logic. Saitama stares at it. So we were never fighting the prisoner. The entity hesitates. You reach the observer layer. Superman's eyes narrow. There's something above even that. The entity does not deny it. Goku moves closer. Tell us what took our power. A pause. Then, the system that records existence removed your signatures. Saitama tilts his head. Why? The entity replies. Because your existence created unsanctioned outcomes. The corridors suddenly collapse inward. Every rejected possibility begins merging into one unstable stream. Superman braces. This space is degrading fast. Goku looks ahead. Then we find the source before it resets again. A new corridor forms ahead, leading downward instead of forward. Gravity reorients. All three are pulled into it. They fall through layers of erased reality. A battlefield where Superman never landed on Earth. A timeline where Goku never left his planet. A world where Saitama never became anything beyond ordinary. Saitama watches silently. So none of us were supposed to exist like this. Superman lands first in a fractured city made of overlapping civilizations. This isn't a place, it's a correction archive. Goku lands beside him. And we're classified as errors. The entity appears above them again, now fractured further. You are anomalies that refuse deletion. Saitama steps forward. So what happens now? The entity answers without hesitation. Final correction attempt. The world shifts violently. The archive cities merge into a single collapsing battlefield. From its center rises something new. A structure built entirely from erased outcomes. And at its core, a silhouette that looks almost human, but is missing definition itself. Superman tightens his stance. That's the system's enforcement unit. Goku exhales slowly. Then it comes to finish what the eye started. Saitama rolls his shoulder once. Good. The enforcement unit moves. And every erased version of reality begins attacking them simultaneously. Cut to black. The enforcement unit steps forward, and the archive battlefield fractures into simultaneous assaults. Saitama is hit first. Not by a punch. By every version of him that ever failed to land one. His body staggers as overlapping missed outcomes collide into his present position. Superman flies in to intercept, but the sky rejects him. Gravity flips mid-flight, throwing him into a vertical collapse corridor where up and down no longer exist. Goku rushes forward, only to be met by himself, not an enemy clone, a discarded version that never trained past survival instinct. That version grabs him. You were never chosen. Goku shoves it off violently. I chose myself. The enforcement unit raises its hand. The battlefield stops behaving like terrain. It becomes a decision engine. Every possible outcome begins executing at once. Saitama steadies himself, eyes narrowing. So I'm fighting every failed version of me. Superman struggles out of the gravity inversion. We're inside outcome simulation overlap. Goku looks up. And it's forcing all rejected paths to collide. The enforcement unit speaks. Correction requires total convergence of failure states. Suddenly, Saitama is struck again, this time by an invisible accumulation of all versions where his punch never mattered. His feet slide across fractured ground. He exhales once. That's annoying. He disappears, reappears behind the enforcement unit. Punch. Impact lands. But instead of damage, the unit splits into layered probabilities, each layer continuing the attack from a different angle. Superman arrives mid-chaos, slamming into one probability stream, trying to stabilize it. I can't pin it down. It exists across all unresolved outcomes. Goku moves differently now. Not faster, more deliberate. He starts reading attack patterns not by movement, but by failure prediction. I see it. It always chooses the version where we hesitate. The enforcement unit tilts its head. Hesitation is default human structure. Saitama reappears again, already bored. So stop assuming we hesitate. He punches again. This time, he doesn't wait for certainty. The enforcement unit reacts late for the first time. A crack forms, not on its body, on the simulation layer itself. Superman notices instantly. It's destabilizing the correction field. Goku rushes in. If it breaks, we get real outcomes again. The enforcement unit raises both arms. The archive battlefield begins collapsing inward, forcing all rejected versions into a single synchronized attack wave. Saitama exhales. Fine. He stops dodging. Stops adjusting. Just moves forward. Superman sees it. You're forcing linear reality back into it. Goku follows immediately. No more branches, just one path. They converge. 3 impacts hit simultaneously. Saitama's raw strike. Superman's controlled planetary force collision. Goku's precise trajectory break. The enforcement unit freezes. For the first time, it does not split. It cracks as one entity. A sound spreads across the archive, like erased timelines screaming back into existence. The battlefield begins restoring real structure, but too fast. Too unstable. Superman grits his teeth. It's overloading reality cohesion, Goku shouts. If it stabilizes wrong, everything resets again. Saitama steps back once. Then we don't let it stabilize. The enforcement unit begins reconstructing itself. But behind it, something worse flickers. The sealed eye returns, watching through the collapse. Saitama notices instantly. That thing again. Superman turns. It's not gone. Goku clenches his fist. It was never gone. The sealed eye opens slightly, and the enforcement unit stops repairing itself, as if it just received a command. Then, it speaks for the first time, directly to them. Correction priority updated. Superman's eyes widen. We weren't the target. The sealed eye focuses fully now. And reality announces a new directive. Eliminate origin interference. Saitama's expression changes slightly. Origin? Goku whispers. That's not us. The enforcement unit turns slowly, facing something behind the trio, something they haven't seen yet. And the archive battlefield begins rewriting toward a new confrontation. Cut to black. The enforcement unit turns fully away from the trio. Not toward them. Beyond them. The archive battlefield folds open like a split dimension, revealing a deeper layer, one none of them were meant to perceive. Saitama narrows his eyes. Something else is here. Superman floats forward slightly, scanning the fracture. This isn't correction anymore. It's targeting. Goku's breathing slows. I feel it, like something is measuring us from outside. The sealed eye expands behind everything, no longer hidden inside structures, but projected across reality itself. And then, a new presence arrives, not stepping in, injecting itself into existence. A shape forms above the enforcement unit, pure absence given structure, like a silhouette drawn by erased light. The enforcement unit lowers its head. Origin interference confirmed. Saitama tilts his head. So that's the boss. Superman's voice tightens. That's not a system component. That's the source operator. Goku clenches his fist. It's what removed us. The origin responds without sound delay, as if thought itself is being spoken. You were never removed. You were never indexed. A pause that bends the archive battlefield. Because you were never meant to be recognized. Saitama exhales. That's worse. Suddenly, the enforcement unit collapses inward, not destroyed, reassigned. It merges into the origin like a tool being returned. The battlefield stops reacting to physical laws entirely. Superman moves first. He accelerates upward, but space refuses continuity. His movement becomes segmented into disconnected frames, each one placed randomly in the air. Goku tries to follow, but his intent fractures mid-action. I can't maintain a single trajectory. Saitama vanishes, reappears instantly in front of the origin. Punch. No hesitation. Impact lands, and nothing changes. Not even a probability. The origin tilts slightly. You still attempt cause-effect structures. Saitama stares at his fist. It connected. The origin replies. Connection is irrelevant without recognition. Superman forces himself back into coherence. It's not resisting us physically. It's rejecting our definition. Goku appears beside them again, barely stabilizing. So we don't exist in its system at all. The origin answers. You exist as unsanctioned echoes. The sealed eye expands behind it, and reality begins erasing the concept of fight itself. Saitama suddenly feels something new. Not loss of strength, loss of validity of action. Superman struggles. If actions aren't recognized, nothing we do accumulates. Goku grits his teeth. Then we're stuck in infinite resets. The origin raises one hand, and the archive battlefield begins dissolving into pure pre-logic space. No time, no distance, no sequence. Only intent fragments floating without execution permission. Saitama speaks quietly. So even punching becomes optional. The origin responds. Even existence is optional. Superman tightens his stance. There has to be a baseline anchor. The origin pauses. There is. A new structure forms behind it. A massive core shaped like a collapsing equation, constantly rewriting itself. Goku's eyes widen. That's it, Saitama looks. The thing that decides what's real. The origin confirms. The recognition core. Suddenly, all three are pulled toward it. Not by force. By definition collapse. Superman resists. I can't stabilize against that pull. Goku strains. It's pulling intent itself. Saitama moves anyway. Step by step. Not rushing. Just refusing the pull's authority. The origin watches. You cannot approach what does not acknowledge approach. Saitama replies, then I'll just ignore that rule too. He disappears forward, reappears at the recognition core. Punch. This time, something changes. The core flickers. For the first time in existence, history, it registers contradiction. Superman sees it instantly. It reacted. Goku shouts. It can be affected. The origin's expression, if it has one, stutters. Impossible. The core begins destabilizing. Reality starts returning in fragments. Time reactivates unevenly. Space restitches in broken layers. Saitama lowers his fist slowly. So that's the target. The Origin reacts sharply. Correction escalation initiated. The sealed eye fully opens. And for the first time, it speaks directly to Saitama alone. You were the first anomaly I failed to delete. Saitama's eyes narrow slightly. Me? The Origin continues. And now you will be rewritten at the source. The recognition core begins collapsing inward again, but not into reset, into elimination. Superman moves to intercept. Goku follows immediately. All three converge again, but this time, the Origin moves first, and reality ends its patience. Cut to black. The recognition core implodes, then stops halfway, suspended like a thought that refuses completion. Everything freezes again. Not time, not space. The permission to continue. Saitama's fist is inches from impact, locked inside a decision that no longer resolves. Superman is stretched across multiple frames of motion, each one trying to exist first. Goku is mid-step, caught between intent and execution, as if the universe forgot how to translate will into action. The Origin stands still, then speaks softly. You reach the core. A pause. That was never allowed. The sealed eye behind it expands until it fills every visible layer of existence. Reality begins peeling away like paper soaked in void. Superman strains. I can still feel structure. It's just being rewritten faster than I can stabilize it. Goku grits his teeth. It's not breaking reality. It's editing it live. Saitama slowly exhales. So nothing we do is final. The Origin answers instantly. Correct. Suddenly, the recognition core splits. Not outward, inward. Every possible outcome of the strike collapses into a single impossible contradiction. A punch that both lands and never existed. Saitama's arm trembles. That's cheating. The Origin responds. Your framework defines it as cheating. Superman pushes through the frozen frames, forcing partial continuity. If we can't define actions, we can't fight it. Goku locks his focus. Then we stop using definitions. The Origin tilts slightly. A new command propagates through existence. Remove interpretive capacity. Instantly, Superman's vision fractures. He can still see, but nothing connects meaning to movement anymore. Goku staggers. His instincts remain, but they no longer translate into structured action paths. Saitama looks at his fist. I still want to punch it. But the idea no longer anchors reality. The Origin steps forward, and for the first time, it is close enough to touch them without crossing distance. Saitama reacts first anyway, not by movement, by refusal. He swings. The punch happens, but only inside him. Outside, nothing acknowledges it. Superman tries to intercept, but his body no longer agrees on what interception means. Goku shouts, but sound breaks before forming intent. The Origin leans closer. You are now unprocessed events. A pulse. The recognition core reactivates behind it, but inverted. Now it doesn't recognize existence. It filters it. Saitama stares forward. So we don't register anymore. Superman forces a broken thought through fragmented awareness. If we don't register, we can't influence anything. Goku tightens his fist. Then we're not fighting it. A pause. We're outside its language. The origin raises its hand. Correction complete. Reality begins dissolving their presence layer by layer. Saitama's outline flickers first. Superman's form begins separating into unreadable states. Goku's existence fractures into unlinked moments. The sealed eye opens fully, and then something interrupts it. A ripple, not from the core, from below it. A second recognition pulse. Opposite. The origin freezes. Impossible. Saitama's fading eyes shift slightly. That wasn't us. Superman weakly looks upward. There's another system. Goku whispers. Something that recognizes us back. A second structure rises beneath the core. A counter-framework forming from rejected erasures. And inside it, a silhouette appears, not erased, not created, but returned. The origin steps back for the first time. You, the new presence answers without voice distortion. Correction denied. Saitama's fading form stabilizes for half a second. That voice, Superman's outline reforms slightly. It's counter-recognition. Goku regains partial coherence. So there's another authority above this one. The origin turns sharply. No layer exists above me. The counter-presence responds. There does now. The recognition core cracks again. And this time, it does not reset. It begins to break open from both sides simultaneously. Saitama's fist reforms mid-air. Superman regains motion continuity. Goku's intent locks back into structure. All three stabilize at once. The origin steps backward. For the first time, uncertainty appears. Saitama looks at his fist. Now I can hit something. Superman locks in. Structure is returning. Goku exhales. And this time, it's not only theirs. The counter-presence speaks once more. Proceed. Saitama vanishes forward. Superman follows. Goku charges last. Three trajectories converge. Not into the origin, but into the recognition core itself. And just before impact, the sealed eye opens wide enough to swallow the attempt whole. Cut to black. The recognition core shatters inward, then reassembles in reverse order, like reality refusing to admit it was struck. Saitama's fist is already inside it, yet the strike keeps rewriting its own arrival point. Superman is suspended mid-charge, each frame of motion attempting to choose a different history. Goku is locked in forward intent, but the path splits into infinite near-identical failures. Then, the counter-presence expands, not as a form, as a correction to the origin's authority. The sealed eye flickers violently for the first time. The origin steps back. You are not a system. The counter-presence answers. No, I am what your system excluded. Saitama slowly withdraws his arm. So, there's something even the core can't classify. Superman stabilizes briefly. If it can't classify it, it can't erase it. Goku exhales. Then we finally have something it can't predict. The origin raises both hands. and reality splits into layered authority zones. One controlled by recognition core, one controlled by origin, one controlled by counterpresence. Three laws collide simultaneously. Space begins collapsing into disagreement. Saitama looks around. Now everything is arguing. Superman tightens his stance. It's a jurisdiction war over existence. Goku clenches his fist. So which one do we fight under? The counter-presence answers. None. A new structure forms beneath them. Not a battlefield. A neutral execution plane where no authority fully applies. The trio drops into it instantly. No fall. No transition. Just relocation. They land in a vast, empty field made of unassigned reality. No sky stability. No ground permanence. Just raw potential without rules. Saitama looks down. Feels lighter. Superman scans. No systems here. Nothing to resist or support us. Goku slowly breathes. So this is outside all control layers. The counter-presence appears fully now, still undefined, but coherent enough to communicate. The origin cannot enforce here. The core cannot interpret here. Saitama tilts his head. So now what? The counter-presence answers. You decide what becomes real. A pause. That sentence lands heavier than any attack so far. Superman's eyes narrow. If we define reality here, it propagates upward. Goku nods. And overrides both systems. Saitama cracks his knuckles. So I just punch what I want to exist. Suddenly, the origin fractures into the plane, trying to anchor itself. The recognition core follows, unstable. Both are partially present, neither fully functional. The origin speaks sharply. You cannot define reality without authorization. The counter-presence responds. Authorization was removed. The core pulses. You are unauthorized existence. Saitama steps forward. That's a lot of rules for something that says I don't exist. He vanishes. Not by speed. By choosing impact without permission. A punch lands into empty space. But reality responds. A ripple spreads outward. The ground stabilizes slightly. Superman sees it immediately. He's forcing definition into the plane. Goku follows. If we define together, it locks in faster. He throws a strike, not at an enemy, but at direction itself. The air reacts. Trajectory becomes real. Superman moves next. He stabilizes pressure gradients across the plane with raw force of will. The origin attempts to interrupt, but the counter-presence blocks it. You do not interrupt here. The origin stutters. This is not permitted structure. Saitama looks at both systems. Then stop being structure. He punches again. This time, reality responds instantly. A stable fragment of existence forms beneath them. Ground becomes consistent. Gravity begins behaving predictably. Goku's eyes widen. It's working. Superman tightens focus. We can rebuild baseline physics here. The origin reacts violently. No unauthorized reconstruction. The recognition core attempts collapse. But the counter-presence expands. Too late. Suddenly, the plane begins filling with choices becoming permanent laws. Saitama steps back. So this is where reality is written. Superman nods. And rewritten if we keep acting. Goku looks forward. Then we keep acting faster than it can respond. The origin begins destabilizing. The core flickers. For the first time, both systems hesitate. Then, something massive begins forming above the plane. A final enforcement layer. Not origin, not core. Something above both. Saitama looks up. That's new. Superman tightens stance. That's the original governing layer. Goku exhales slowly. So we weren't at the top yet. The counter-presence goes silent for the first time. And then speaks. You triggered the upper registry. The sky fractures completely. A new entity begins descending. And reality stops waiting. Cut to black. The sky doesn't open. It is replaced. A new layer descends over the execution plane like an overwritten script taking priority over every previous rule. Saitama looks up first. So there's a higher one. Superman's posture tightens instantly. That's not a system layer. That's the registry administrator. Goku narrows his eyes. It's rewriting the space we just stabilized. The counter-presence goes still. For the first time, its voice loses certainty. Upper registry detected. A shape forms above them, not descending through distance, but compiling itself into visibility. Every second it becomes more defined, yet less describable. Not a body, a decision made permanent. The origin and recognition core both react simultaneously. For the first time, they align. Origin speaks sharply. This exceeds jurisdiction. Core responds. Classification impossible. Saitama cracks his neck slightly. So even the bosses don't like this one. Superman steps forward. If it's above both systems, it can overwrite everything we rebuilt. Goku clenches his fist. Then we hit it before it finishes loading. The upper registry reacts instantly. The execution plane begins dissolving at its edges. Not destruction, deactivation. Saitama moves first, not toward it, toward stability. He punches the collapsing boundary. Reality locks for half a second. Superman follows, reinforcing the stabilized fragment with controlled force. Goku adds impact from a different angle, preventing recollapse. The plane resists deletion. The upper registry pauses. A response forms. Unauthorized persistence detected. Then it answers. A pulse spreads outward. Everything stops reacting normally. Saitama feels it immediately. My movement didn't register again. Superman struggles. It's overriding even the neutral plane. Goku's eyes sharpen. It's not fighting us. It's deciding we're irrelevant. The counter-presence finally reacts. You cannot nullify what is already outside permission. The upper registry responds. Permission is irrelevant at this level. A new structure forms around them. Not a battlefield. A judgment lattice. Each axis represents an erased possibility of the trio. Saitama sees himself in thousands of failed states. Superman sees universes where he never arrived. Goku sees versions where he never learned to fight at all. Saitama's voice drops slightly. It's trying to convince us we were never stable. Superman replies, It's not convincing. It's reassigning truth. Goku steps forward. Then we stop agreeing with it. He moves. Not fast, not strong, just decisively inconsistent with the lattice. A crack appears. Saitama follows immediately. One punch into the judgment structure. The lattice bends. Superman adds pressure, forcing alignment failure across axes. The upper registry responds instantly. Correction required. The entire lattice compresses. Reality begins folding into a single verdict point. The counterpresence expands violently. Do not finalize this state. The upper registry replies, it is already finalized above you. Then, a presence beyond sight emerges, not entering the scene, becoming the scene. A massive silent authority manifests behind the registry layer. Even the upper registry pauses. Saitama looks at it. That's the real top. Superman's voice lowers. That's not a system anymore. Goku whispers. That's the source of classification itself. The new presence speaks, not to them, to everything. Reversion initiated. Instantly, the execution plane begins undoing itself, not collapsing, unwriting. Saitama tightens his fist. We just built this. Superman looks around. It's deleting the concept of what we built. Goku clenches his jaw. Then we stop it before it finishes unwriting us. The counter-presence turns fully toward them. This is beyond counter. Saitama stares upward. So what do we do? A pause. Then, the counter-presence answers. You define something it cannot interpret. The upper registry begins collapsing the lattice faster. Saitama vanishes first. Superman follows. Goku moves last. All three converge toward the singular reversion point, where everything is being undone. And for the first time, the new presence above everything reacts directly. Cut to black. The reversion point opens like a wound in causality, not expanding, deleting outward. Saitama arrives first, only to find his strike already undone before intention completes. Superman collides with resistance that predates motion itself. Goku's trajectory fractures into non-starting possibilities. The upper registry stands still beneath the highest presence. And now, even that presence is actively erasing its own authority. Saitama grits his teeth. We're losing before we arrive. Superman responds sharply. It's not predicting us. It's removing the conditions that allow arrival. Goku narrows his eyes. Then we don't arrive normally. The counter-presence pulses faintly. Then you exist before definition completes. A shift. Saitama stops trying to move forward. He instead forces presence into the reversion point. A punch that does not begin or end. It simply asserts contact. The reversion point stutters. Superman reacts instantly. I see it. It can't delete what isn't sequenced. He stabilizes surrounding collapse vectors, anchoring fragments of continuity just long enough for existence to persist. Goku steps into the instability. If it removes beginnings, we attack from the middle. He strikes without initiation. No wind-up. No signal. Just impact inside instability. The reversion point fractures slightly. The upper registry responds immediately. Nonlinear persistence detected. The lattice begins rebuilding itself over the collapse zone. But now, something new resists. The counter-presence expands again. You are attempting to rewrite before interpretation. The highest presence finally reacts, not speaking, not moving, just declaring override. Reality itself begins folding toward a single, irreversible conclusion. Saitama feels it. It's forcing an ending. Superman tightens. If it finalizes this, everything becomes undone permanently. Goku clenches his fist. Then we force a different ending. A pause. Then, all three move together without synchronization. Not coordinated, not planned, just aligned refusal. Saitama strikes first. Superman follows with stabilizing force. Goku impacts from a divergent angle that breaks directional logic. The reversion point cracks wider. For the first time, it hesitates. The highest presence reacts. And for the first time, it speaks directly. Unresolvable anomaly detected. The words ripple outward, and reality pauses again. Saitama slowly lowers his arm. We made it hesitate. Superman's eyes narrow. That shouldn't be possible at this level. Goku exhales. It's reacting like we're not a mistake anymore. The counter-presence expands fully. Now it recognizes contradiction instead of ignoring it. The upper registry begins collapsing into itself. The highest presence responds instantly. Escalation, absolute revision protocol. Everything freezes. Not time, not space, not motion. Meaning, Saitama's fist is suspended mid-decision. Superman is locked in simultaneous outcomes. Goku exists across overlapping intent states. And then, the highest presence begins rewriting the concept of contradiction itself. Saitama's eyes narrow. It's trying to remove the idea that we can disagree with it. Superman struggles. If contradiction disappears, we lose resistance entirely. Goku whispers. Then we become impossible to fight. The counterpresence suddenly shifts tone. Then become impossibility itself. A new force emerges. Not from above, not from below. From within the unresolved gap between them. Saitama feels it first. His fist moves again. Not by command, by existence refusing correction. Superman breaks free of frozen outcomes. Goku stabilizes into a single coherent path. The absolute revision protocol stutters. For the first time, the highest presence pauses. Saitama looks up. We broke its rule. Superman tightens stance. We didn't follow structure. We created conflict inside it. Goku nods slowly. It can't remove what keeps changing rules. The highest presence begins to destabilize. And then it responds with one final measure. The reversion point expands one last time, and everything begins collapsing into a singular final state. Saitama clenches his fist. Final round. Superman prepares. Goku exhales. And all existence narrows into one finishing convergence, where something impossible is about to happen. Cut to black. The absolute revision collapses into a single point where every outcome stops competing and starts merging. Saitama feels it first, not pressure. Finality, trying to become law. Superman's vision fractures into one unavoidable endpoint. Goku's intent locks. No alternatives left, only one remaining direction. The highest presence descends into full definition at last. not shape, not being. A complete rewrite directive. Termination of contradiction required. The execution plane, the core, the origin, even the counterpresence, all begin dissolving into compliance. Saitama exhales slowly. So this is the end they want. Superman tightens his jaw. It's removing every path except deletion. Goku stares forward. Then we don't take paths. A pause. We make one. The counterpresence reacts instantly. Then you must reject all authored outcomes. Saitama vanishes. Not forward, not backward. Outside sequencing. His fist appears at the absolute revision point. No buildup, no condition, just impact. Superman follows, but not as motion. As stabilized contradiction entering a forbidden state. Goku moves last, and instead of striking, he anchors choice itself into the moment. All three converge, not aligned, not synchronized, but inseparable in effect. The absolute revision stutters violently. For the first time, it cannot complete rewriting. The highest presence reacts. Impossible state, persistence without permission. Saitama's voice is low. We stopped asking. Superman adds. We stopped responding. Goku finishes. We started deciding. A crack spreads through the absolute revision point. Not destruction. Disagreement at fundamental level. The origin and core both flicker back into partial existence beneath it. Even the upper registry destabilizes. The counterpresence expands fully. Now it cannot define you without accepting your definition. The highest presence pauses. A silence stretches across everything. Then, it attempts one final correction. Erase the observers. Saitama's eyes narrow. We're still here. Superman steps forward. And we're still watching. Goku clenches his fist. And we're still choosing. The absolute revision collapses inward. But instead of deletion, it fractures into infinite unresolved states. The highest presence trembles. For the first time, it loses singularity. Saitama looks up at the breaking authority. So even the end can't end us. Superman exhales. It can't finalize anything anymore. Goku whispers. Because we stopped being outcomes. The counter-present speaks softly. You are now unresolvable continuity. The highest presence begins dissolving into multiple conflicting versions of itself. Reality stabilizes. Not perfectly, but freely. Saitama lowers his fist. So what now? Superman looks around the restored fragments. We're outside every system. Goku nods slowly. Then the fight isn't against control anymore. A pause. It's against anything that tries to define us again. The counterpresence fades slightly. Then your existence is now open-ended. Saitama smirks faintly. Good. Far above them. The shattered remnants of every system drift apart like broken constellations. No authority remains whole. No registry remains final. And for the first time, reality does not end. It continues. Cut to black. The broken multiverse doesn't heal. It learns. Saitama stands on drifting fragments of stabilized reality, each one rewriting itself slightly every second, like uncertain memory. Superman hovers beside him, scanning the horizon of fractured existence. Nothing registers as fixed anymore. Goku closes his eyes briefly. It's still reacting to us. Saitama tilts his head. Not attacking? Goku opens his eyes. Adapting. A silence spreads. Then, reality flinches. Not collapse. Not rebuild. Recognition. Something is trying to identify them again. Superman's expression tightens. That's impossible. We're outside all classification systems. A voice returns, not above, not below. Inside the remaining structure of reality itself. Classification is no longer required. The fragments around them begin aligning into a single direction, not toward destruction, toward observation. Saitama exhales slowly. I don't like that tone. Suddenly, a massive observational lattice forms across the skyless void. Not built, recorded. Every fragment of reality becomes a camera point. Every angle becomes a judgment view. Goku clenches his fist. It's watching again. Superman narrows his eyes. But nothing is controlling it. The voice continues. You are now stable anomalies. Saitama steps forward slightly. Stable sounds boring. The lattice responds instantly. Stability is required for permanent existence. A pulse spreads. Suddenly, their movements begin sinking into predictable patterns. Saitama's next step feels partially pre-written. Superman's flight path starts auto-adjusting. Goku's instincts begin aligning into optimized response loops. Saitama stops. It's trying to turn us into repeatable data. Superman struggles against forced predictability. This isn't control, it's normalization. Goku's eyes sharpen. We're being standardized. The lattice expands. Reality begins smoothing itself. Irregularity is removed. Conflict is reduced. Change becomes minimal. Saitama's voice lowers. So this is how it wins now. Suddenly, a fracture cuts through the observational lattice. Not from above, from within Goku's movement. He acted without pattern. Unoptimized. Unrecordable. The lattice stutters. Superman notices instantly. It can't process unpredictability. Saitama smirks. Finally, he moves, not along expected path, but in contradiction to his own momentum. The lattice glitches. Superman follows by breaking aerial continuity, forcing impossible flight transitions. The system struggles to update. Goku steps forward again. If it wants repeatable behavior, he stops mid-motion, then changes direction completely without cause. The lattice collapses momentarily. Saitama vanishes forward, reappears inside a structural node of the observational grid. Punch. The node fractures. Superman stabilizes the collapse. Goku attacks a second node from a non-sequential angle. The lattice begins losing coherence. But then, it responds. You are now unpredictable variables. A new layer forms beneath the grid. Something deeper. Something that doesn't observe. It pre-computes. Saitama's expression changes slightly. That's new. Superman's voice tightens. It's predicting unpredictability. Goku clenches his fist. So it's learning faster than we can break it. The pre-computation layer activates, and suddenly, all three freeze. Not physically, probabilistically. Every possible move they could make is calculated before intent forms. Saitama tries to move, but every direction is already accounted for. Superman's thought is interrupted mid-formation. Goku feels his next action already consumed. The system speaks. Uncertainty resolved in advance. Saitama exhales slowly. So we lost again. Superman tightens his jaw. We're not losing, we're being outpaced. Goku stares forward. Then we stop being predictable even to ourselves. A pause. The system reacts instantly. Invalid concept. But something changes. Saitama's next movement does not form intention. Superman stops calculating. Goku empties his decision process entirely. And for the first time, their actions are not computed. The lattice flickers violently. Saitama whispers, "We're not thinking anymore." Superman, "We're not reacting." Goku, "We're just moving." The pre-computation layer stutters. For the first time, it cannot resolve their next state. And in that gap, something older awakens beneath everything again. Cut to black. The pre-computation layer glitches, then fractures like glass under invisible pressure. For the first time, it cannot complete a prediction cycle. Saitama stands still inside the gap. Not because he stopped, because the system lost his next frame. Superman's eyes sharpen instantly. It's blind for a fraction of continuity. Goku exhales once. That's our opening. A low vibration spreads through the fractured lattice. Not alarm, confusion. The system speaks. Unresolvable motion detected. Saitama tilts his head slightly. We're confusing it now? Superman nods. It can't map us if we don't form sequential intent. Goku clenches his fist. So we stop being sequences completely. Suddenly, the lattice tries to restart computation. But something interrupts it. A deeper pulse rises from beneath the system layers again. The same presence from earlier. Not origin, not core, not registry, something older than classification itself. The pre-computation layer hesitates, then collapses inward. Saitama exhales. That thing again. Superman looks upward. It's interfering with prediction architecture. Goku narrows his eyes. It's protecting the gap we just created. The lattice fractures fully, and reality shifts back into unstable openness. But now, nothing is watching cleanly. Nothing is computing properly. The system layers are all partially blind. A voice returns, no longer structured. You are not meant to be processed. Saitama smirks faintly. We noticed. The void beneath them expands. Not hostile, expectant. Superman tightens his stance. This is the same presence that countered the registry and origin. Goku nods. It's been watching all along. A shape forms, not above, not below, between layers of collapse. And this time, it speaks directly to all three. I am the residue of unfinalized existence. Saitama stares. That sounds messy. Superman narrows his eyes. Residual layer, meaning everything erased left a trace. Goku whispers. And it became something. The presence continues. You were never anomalies. A pause. You were unfinished corrections that refused completion. The entire fractured multiverse trembles. Saitama clenches his fist slightly. So we were supposed to be erased properly. Superman exhales. And failed deletion created you. Goku looks forward. So you're what happens when everything ignores the delete command. The presence responds. I am what remains when all systems stop agreeing on erasure. Suddenly, the pre-computation layer tries one last recovery, but it cannot see the presence. It cannot calculate it. It cannot classify it. Saitama notices instantly. Even the prediction system can't read it. Superman's voice lowers. That means it exists outside all processing layers. Goku steps forward. Then it's the first thing truly beyond everything else. The presence pulses gently. And now you are partially aligned with me. A shift occurs. The fractured reality stabilizes slightly, but not under system control. Under absence of control. Saitama feels it. It's not fixing reality. Superman confirms. It's letting it remain undefined. Goku clenches his fist. So this is freedom without structure. The presence answers. Yes. A pause. Then, something else appears. Not system, not authority. A final echo of the origin, core, registry, and upper layer, all trying to reassert at once. But they are unstable, broken, desynchronized. Saitama looks at them. They're still trying to come back. Superman tightens his stance. But they can't align anymore. Goku nods slowly. Because nothing agrees with them now. The presence speaks again. Final convergence attempt detected. The broken systems begin collapsing toward one last forced unity. Saitama steps forward. Let them try. Superman follows. Goku moves last. All three stand together again. But this time, not inside a system, not inside a correction layer, not inside prediction, just within unresolved existence. And as the final convergence approaches, something shifts in Saitama's expression. This might be the first real fight we've had. Cut to black. The final convergence doesn't arrive as an event. It arrives as everything deciding at once. Origin, core, registry, upper layer. Fractured systems collide into a single collapsing identity. Saitama feels it first. It's forcing unity again. Superman's voice tightens. But there's nothing left to unify cleanly. Goku stares forward. So it's forcing broken pieces into one unstable truth. The convergence mass forms above them, no longer layered authority, but a compressed contradiction trying to become absolute. It speaks with all voices at once. Final state required. The presence of residue between layers pulses gently. No final state exists here. The convergence reacts violently. Reality folds inward again, this time not into deletion, but forced conclusion. Saitama vanishes forward instantly, not as movement, as refusal of ending. Impact lands against the convergence core. It doesn't break. It splits into competing finales. Superman follows, driving stabilizing force into the splitting outcomes, preventing any one conclusion from dominating. Goku moves last, reading the divergence, striking the weakest unresolved branch. The convergence staggers. For the first time, it cannot decide how to end. Saitama exhales. It doesn't know which ending is real. Superman nods. That's why it can't finalize anything. Goku clenches his fist. Then we keep it undecided. The convergence reacts. Indecision is failure. A pulse. The system tries to force collapse again, but the residue presence expands. Indecision is continuity. The convergence freezes. Saitama tilts his head. That's new. Superman looks at the residue. It's redefining instability as structure. Goku steps forward. So uncertainty becomes the foundation. The convergence begins breaking apart, not destroyed, deauthorized. Its forced unity fails. The origin fragment screams first, then core, then registry, each dissolving into incompatible truths. Saitama lowers his fist. So that's it. Superman exhales. It can't force a final answer anymore. Goku nods. Because nothing agrees on what the answer is. The residue presence pulses softly. Final convergence rejected. Silence spreads. Not empty. Uncontrolled. For the first time, reality is not trying to resolve itself. Saitama looks around. Feels like everything stopped trying to end. Superman scans the horizon. There's no system pressure anymore. Goku clenches his fist lightly. So what now? A long pause. The residue presence answers. Now existence continues without correction. Saitama smirks faintly. Sounds like a mess. Superman looks at him. It always was. Goku exhales slowly. But now it's ours. Above them. The remnants of all systems drift apart like fading echoes that no longer synchronize. No authority remains unified. No registry remains final. No prediction remains valid. Only unresolved continuity persists. And for the first time, no one is trying to fix it. Cut to black. The fractured multiverse stops collapsing and starts existing without permission. No alarms, no systems, no corrections. Just silence that finally forgot how to enforce rules. Saitama stands on drifting fragments of unassigned reality. So this is what nothing controlling everything looks like. Superman hovers beside him, scanning empty layers that no longer respond. It's not empty. It's just no longer interpreted. Goku looks down at his fist. Feels like the universe stopped arguing with itself. A pause. Then, a soft ripple spreads through existence. Not an attack. Not a reset. A memory trying to form without authority. The residue presence appears one last time, not above, not below, but inside the space between their awareness. I will not maintain structure. Saitama tilts his head slightly. You're leaving? The presence responds. I was never meant to remain. Superman's expression tightens. If you go, what keeps this from collapsing again? A pause. Then, you do. Goku looks up sharply. We're the stabilizers now? The presence answers. You are the only things that continued without permission. A final shift. The last fragments of origin, core, registry, upper layer, now fully disconnected, float like broken myths with no authority to bind them. They do not attack. They do not rebuild. They simply fade. Saitama exhales slowly. Feels weird. No final boss left. Superman glances at him. That's because there's no system left to generate one. Goku steps forward. So the fight isn't against anything anymore. A long silence. Then, Saitama speaks quietly. Good. The residue presence begins dissolving, but its final words linger across everything. Unresolved existence is now baseline. Then, it is gone. No collapse follows. No reset triggers. No correction arrives. Just continuity. Unfiltered. Unowned. Superman lowers his hands. For the first time, nothing is trying to define us. Goku nods slowly. Then we decide what happens next. Saitama looks at the drifting reality fragments. I guess we just live in it. A faint smirk appears. Not victory, not defeat. Just presence. Superman looks toward the horizon of unstable stars, slowly becoming stable on their own terms. The multiverse is still broken, Goku replies. But it's ours now. Saitama turns slightly. So what do we call this? A pause. No systems respond. No authority defines it. Goku answers first. A beginning that didn't ask permission. Superman nods. A reality without correction. Saitama stretches his arm lightly. Sounds annoying. Then, he walks forward. Not toward battle. Not toward collapse. Just forward. And for the first time across infinite layered existence, nothing tries to stop him.